And it was just another day, yeah.
Just another day.
Until I went to the movies, and now it's a movie Tuesday. A movie Tuesday. Until a movie Tuesday.
Yellow, and welcome to Movie Chewsday, the day where we talk about movies in a spoiler-free fashion. We talk about trailers that I've seen and the lack thereof, and we talk about the news. Anything I can find that tickles my fancy, and I relay it back to you and give you my ones and twos. My 2 cents, if you will. First off, on Puppy Watch, dogs are in the room. They might try and kill each other. I apologize for the background noise. Other thing is, I apologize for the tardiness. I got things going on in the work world. For the past 4 years, I have been working the night shift. And now, after those 4 years, I have gotten into the position where somebody else will work that shift, and I will be moved into the day shift. I have been moved into the day shift. So now, instead of like getting off of work at like 9, 10 o'clock at night and coming home all tired and stuff and recording these until like 2 in the morning, including all the editing and stuff, now I'm going to come home still awake from work, but I'll record these videos around like, maybe like 7, 8 o'clock, you know what I mean? So a little bit earlier than usual. So if I seem a little different, maybe that's why. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. We're going to find out together. But, so yeah, big ups for your boy getting moved to the day shift. Things are going to be changing around here. Anyway, let's get to what you all came here for, and that is the news. Because you did come for the news, right? You came for the news. All right. Starting over on Yahoo News, the awkward promotions for the Resident Evil movie franchise continues. This was actually a news story that I found back last week, but I was kind of like in a hurry last week, so I skimmed over it a little bit and I didn't fully grasp what the news story was trying to get across. But now that I've actually sat down and read it and kind of like understand it a little bit more, now I can say something about it. So Milla Jovovich was doing an interview, and I guess she's like just giving tidbits and stuff on the whole Resident Evil franchise. It's just, I find it kind of weird how they choose now to start promoting the Resident Evil franchise with the movie, the last movie coming out on video. When the final chapter came out in theaters, I feel like I barely saw any trailers or any kind of promotion, like building up the whole final chapter type thing, so it's weird that they decided to do it now when it comes out on video. But anyway, she was doing an interview and she was talking about how she almost quit the Resident Evil franchise because of Michelle Rodriguez. So I guess like the way it went down is that so like Milla Jovovich was going to be, or was planned out for her to be the star of the franchise. She was going to be the main protagonist of the movie. So she had all the like action scenes and the key scenes and shit to like build her character and make her shine, right? It was her movie. So then I guess like, I don't know if it was during production or filming. I'm going to say it was production. Michelle Rodriguez ended up getting added to the cast, right? So around that time, she was on a high, like her career was on the rise because she had just did Girl Fight and stuff like that. So I'm guessing Anderson was trying to capitalize on her popularity, and he started like rewriting Jovovich's scenes to where like her key scenes and giving them to Michelle Rodriguez. And Jovovich was pretty much saying that like Rodriguez had became the star of the movie. Okay. And she got pissed off about that. So she pretty much went to Anderson and was like, yo, this ain't cool. And I'm actually filming another movie. The only reason I'm doing this movie is because I like Resident Evil and I think it's cool that you're making a movie and that you actually wanted to make me the star of it. So obviously, like, it seems like that's not happening anymore because you're changing all of my fucking parts and shit and giving them over to her. So I'm gonna bounce, you know, unless we can make some changes, right? So they end up sitting down, and I guess like for 3 hours they had like rewrote the entire script to the first Resident Evil movie to where it went back to having Jovovich be the main focus of the movie. So like I said, when I first read the story, I kind of like skimmed over it, so I kind of like caught little pieces here and there. And I, at first, like my knee-jerk reaction, just reading what I read, I was just like, oh, you know, I was like, this kind of paints Jovovich in a bad light, you know, like a spoil sport, you know what I mean? Because I don't know why, but I was just under the impression that, you know, maybe you weren't the star of the movie. Like maybe there wasn't supposed to be a star in the movie. It was just supposed to be about a group of people like stuck in a laboratory with mutants and zombies. Like, I don't know why I thought that. That's just the way I originally took it. But when I actually sat down and read the story and what it was actually about, then I was like, oh, okay, I get what's going on now. Like, yeah, that does make sense. That good on her to threaten like leaving the actual production, the actual movie altogether, you know, because clearly Anderson was in the wrong in this situation. He clearly wanted Rodriguez to be the star, because I think like, oh man, I'm pretty sure Fifth Element came before Resident Evil, right? And that might have been the last like big action flick that Jovovich had did. So it would make sense. I understand like why he would want to get like Rodriguez, like after getting Rodriguez on the project when she's coming off of another big movie, you know, I can understand him wanting to kind of like shift his attention to her, but it's still shitty the way you do it. Like, don't promise the lead role to one person and then try and switch halfway through because you got like a more prominent star. Like that's kind of fucked up, you know? Because I was originally thinking that there was some shenanigans going on, because for those who don't know, Jovovich and Anderson are actually married. They got kids and everything. And I couldn't remember if they were married before they started doing Resident Evil or if they got married during the whole like Resident Evil movie making thing. But according to Yahoo News, they're saying that that time that they spent, I guess like they weren't together, but then I guess they ended up getting together when they ended up like rewriting the script and stuff for the first movie, and that's how like they started spending time, like more time with each other, and they started dating, and then eventually they got married. So I was under the impression that they were married this whole time, way before the movies even started. So I started like when I read the story and it's saying like Jovovich almost like walked away from the movie completely, I was thinking like, oh, you know, that's cool. She's trying to like save her marriage or something, or save her relationship, because obviously it's not working out with her and her husband, aka the director. So, you know, but now I'm thinking like, you know, with him changing the script and everything, like changing it back to focus on Jovovich, I'm thinking like he just didn't want to sleep on the couch that night, you know, because he would have been in real big trouble if they were married at the time, but they weren't. So either way, I misinterpreted the story when I skimmed over it. The moral of the story is, don't skim over stories, read them in full so you can get the full aspect of what the hell is going on. So take that snippet with you. Next news article, courtesy of IGN. Dan Aykroyd blames Paul Feig for Ghostbusters failure. He was saying that he enjoyed the movie, but he blames Feig for the inflated budget of the Ghostbusters movie. He was also saying that he suggested some like scenes that Feig could direct or that he could shoot, and I guess like Feig just kind of ignored him and was like, "Nah, I got this, man. Don't worry about it." And then they did like some private screenings or whatever to kind of see how the movie was coming along. And I guess, I don't know if it was like the studio or just like early screening viewers or something, you know, they were just like, oh, well, you know, that scene could have used this scene could have used that. So like pretty much the scenes that Aykroyd was recommending be added to the film ended up that Paul Feig ignored. Those ended up being the key snippets or the key parts of the movie that were later added. But it was the fact that they had to like round everybody up and do reshoots again after the movie had already been shot. So yeah, and then I guess Aykroyd was saying that the reshoots were anywhere between like $3 to $4 million extra. So that's his whole claim with that. First of all, damn, Dan Aykroyd, why you gotta be shooting people on the bus like that? Man, what? No, I was playing. I've said it before and I'll say it again, dude. I'm very happy that people are starting to come out and speak their minds on these movies when shit goes wrong. I'm using bunny ears for my audio listeners. I mean, it sucks that people got to get thrown under the bus, and who's to say that Dan Aykroyd is fully telling the truth? I mean, like we only heard his side of the story. We haven't heard like Sony's side. We haven't heard Paul Feig's side. We haven't heard the actor's side of it. Probably never will, but who knows? I mean, will anybody come to the defense of Paul Feig? I have no idea. But I will say that I'm looking at the budget for Ghostbusters, and it was saying that the budget was $144 million. So IGN had like corrected the story because I guess at first they had thought that that Aykroyd said like $30 to $40 million worth of reshoots, but then they changed it and were like, no, it was actually like $3 to $4 million. I'm hoping it's in the $30 and $40 million range for reshoots, because I feel like $3 million is a lot of money, but when you have a budget of, let's just go ahead and say $140 million, right? I feel like an extra $3 to $4 million isn't gonna really break the bank, in my opinion. But what do I know? I don't know the ins and outs of the movie business. I just like I'm looking at things from the outside view. So I think like the biggest problem here, or the biggest problem for that situation, was the fact that you had to round everybody up again to like get reshoots done. Because when I read the headline of the article, or when I like started reading the article and he was talking about how he blamed Feig for the inflated budget, I immediately went to the special effects, because I think the special effects in Ghostbusters was fantastic. So when he starts talking about like too much money was spent, I immediately jumped to the special effects. But apparently it was the reshoots. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of confused on this whole thing. But I do kind of understand Paul Feig's reasoning for ignoring, well, for lack of a better term, ignoring Dan Aykroyd's like suggestions to add certain scenes into the movie. I can understand why he wouldn't fully listen to him, because when you think about it, Paul Feig got more accomplished with Ghostbusters than Aykroyd, or he got more accomplished with the new Ghostbusters movie than Dan Aykroyd did all the years that he spent like trying to hype up and gather interest in another Ghostbusters movie. Because I remember for like years, dude, like everyone kept asking Dan Aykroyd like, yo, what's up with Ghostbusters 3? We getting to Ghostbusters 3? And he'd be like, oh, you know, we're working on some stuff right now. We're getting some rough drafts written up. And, you know, I'm trying to get all the team. I'm trying to get everybody on board because we want to bring everybody back and stuff like that. And then there was like the news of Bill Murray dropping out, like he didn't want anything to do with it. Then he'd come back and then he'd drop out again. It was all kind of shit that was going on. And I don't want to like place the blame solely on Aykroyd or Hal Ramis, may he rest in peace, or the movie studio. I don't know if it was Sony at the time, but whatever movie studio was behind it, I don't want to put like all the blame on them. It seemed like there was enough blame to just go around all these parties. So I would understand if Paul Feig writes up a Ghostbusters movie, like his own concept, and pitches it to the studio. They give him the budget to make the movie. He starts making the movie. And when the studio and one of the previous actors from the franchise try to come in and kind of tell you what to do or suggest some things, I can understand you not wanting to really listen to them, and just be like, you guys have done enough, okay? I'm trying to actually like make the movie and put it out, you know what I'm saying? So kind of sucks for Feig, but what are you gonna do? I liked the Ghostbusters movie. I thought it was pretty good. I thought that movie got unnecessary hate. So, I mean, like I said, I don't know what's going on with the movie business or anything like that. So, I wouldn't blame Paul Feig for like having a bloated budget. I wouldn't blame that for the movie's failure. I would blame the hating ass haters out there that were talking all kind of mad shit about Ghostbusters and how they shouldn't be girls and they like their Ghostbusters to have big swinging dicks in between their legs and fighting ghosts. I blame those people because I mean, I know it's like a vocal minority, but they were still loud nonetheless. And obviously people spoke with their wallets with that movie because I think it barely made its money back. I think it it barely made the money back, and now they're talking about it might not be a sequel that's happening, which really sucks because I would love to see a sequel, mainly just so I can see Kate McKinnon do her thing some more. But that sucks if they don't bring it back. Hopefully, some other studio could pick it up and bring back the crew, the ladies, and Chris Hemsworth because he was cool too. But yeah. If they end up scrapping the whole Ghostbusters thing and they want to like revive the franchise, I would say do Extreme Ghostbusters. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Extreme Ghostbusters was this old ass cartoon that I used to watch. And I don't remember the specifics of it. I just remember like a group of kids being Ghostbusters, and the older Ghostbusters like Venkman and them were retired. I think like some were just off doing something completely different, non-related to ghosts. And I can't remember if it was Egon or if it was Aykroyd's character, who I can't remember. I think it was Spangler or something. I don't know. One of the old Ghostbusters was like the mentor for the kids, and they showed them the ropes. But like there was a whole group of kids, and they were all badass and shit, and they rode around with Slimer busting ghosts. So if you're gonna keep on doing the whole Ghostbusters thing, but you don't want to do the Melissa McCarthy and Kate McKinnon's and Kristen Wiig and Leslie Jones crew, then do Extreme Ghostbusters. That's all I'm gonna put out there. So next story, sticking with IGN. Joel Kinnaman said that WB is currently writing up the script for Suicide Squad 2. He believes that filming should start sometime in 2018, and he said that he plans to return to play the part of Captain Rick Flag, the leader of the Suicide Squad, the legit leader, because I think, well, Deadshot's kind of a leader, but not really, because he's got to answer to Flag. So we'll just say that Flag's the leader. But either way, he said there's a good chance that he'll return. As far as like directors go, he was asked like what director he would like to see tackle the Suicide Squad. He said Joel Kinnaman. Jesus, man, what is wrong with me? He said that he would like to have David Ayer come back and tackle that property again. And if they couldn't get Ayer back, then he wants to at least get a director that understands the characters, that can like ground them a little more and put them in natural situations and not outlandish shit like fighting witches or whatever like that, I'm guessing. So that's Kinnaman's 2 cents on the thing. I do highly agree with his wish list or with his request that he would like Ayer to come back. I too would like David Ayer to have another chance with Suicide Squad, and this time I would like him to not have any restraints, not have the studio breathing down his back, because I don't care how many times he goes out and says that he's proud of the movie, he's proud of what he did, you know, like he made the movie that he wanted to make. I don't care how many times he does it. I know, and you know, and everybody else knows, he's playing the game, he's trying to keep his job, and he's probably trying to stay as close to that franchise or to that property as he can. So this, I feel like WB owes him, and they owe it to him to just be like, hey man, here's Suicide Squad 2, it's all yours, we're gonna stay out of it, do your thing, you know. I think they owe that to him. But I know that he is busy with Gotham City Sirens, the Harley Quinn movie with, like, I think Batgirl or somebody's gonna be in there. I don't know the Sirens people, but he's supposed to be doing the Harley Quinn solo movie or whatever the fuck that movie's gonna be. So he could be busy with that, so he may not have time to come back to Suicide Squad. Maybe he'll do like a producer or executive kind of role, executive producer kind of role in Suicide Squad 2. I don't know. But if you can't get David Ayer back, I've said it before and I'll say it again, get Sylvester Stallone. I feel like he's good with character development, and seeing his work with the Expendables, he can obviously handle a group of colorful characters going around doing outlandish missions, somewhat grounded outlandish missions, you know. So basically I just want Sylvester Stallone to come in, direct it, and instead of doing Expendables, just like do a palette swap with Suicide Squad, just, you know. And he's in the Marvel movies now. He's in Guardians of the Galaxy, so he's got his like chops wet with comic book movies now. And, you know, Marvel and DC are doing the whole cum swapping thing with people, where once Joss Whedon was the Avengers guy, but now he's going to be the Batgirl / Justice League guy. So why not just have Sylvester come over to WB and do some DC movies? You know, he'd be like, yeah, you know, and I think I'm going to go ahead and direct Suicide Squad, and I'm going to make my own thing, and, you know, and you're just going to let me do it, right? You know, because if I'm going to be a director, I don't want anybody to tell me what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do, okay? You know, I made Rocky. You ever see Rocky? Come on, let me. But, yeah, that's, any news about Suicide Squad 2 is good news to me, because it shows that they're not sweeping that movie under the rug. That was another movie that I feel like got a whole bunch of unnecessary hate for no reason. But apparently it must have some kind of like cult following, because it made enough money to where WB wants to go ahead and do another one. I hope that the original cast returns, because I did not have a problem with any of the casting choices whatsoever. As far as Joel Kinnaman saying how he is pretty sure he'll come back, I'm sure he'll come back too. I don't know what he's got in the pipeline as far as movie roles go, but judging from the special features in Suicide Squad and how he has a Suicide Squad tattoo, obviously he liked the job and the role that he played, or he at least liked the work that he did on the first movie. So I feel like he has to come back, you know what I mean? So I don't know. He wasn't the only one too. There was like a couple people that got tatted up on that movie, like real tatted up. I think Joel Kinnaman's one, David Ayer got one, and Jai Courtney got one. I think Will Smith and Margot Robbie did as well, but I'm not entirely sure about that. I know for sure that Will Smith and Margot Robbie tattooed Ayer and Kinnaman and stuff, but I don't know if they got tattoos themselves. But if you got, you know, if you like the movie, if you like working on the movie enough to get it tattooed on you, you know, you got to come back in some form or fashion, I feel. So, yeah. So anyway, sticking with DC news, this next article or news story that I have to tell you comes from an anonymous source, some people that I know. Something you need to know about your boy. I've been boots on the ground, okay, spreading the joy of Movie Chewsday. All right. I've been kissing hands and shaking babies, trying to get some connections going, trying to spread the word and make this shit bigger. So I ran into this source recently. Now, I knew this source, and I want to keep them anonymous because I don't want to say something to like get them in trouble or anything like that, even though I've been given permission to say what I'm going to say. But I knew this source from a way back, okay? But when I first met them, I wasn't doing Movie Chewsday. But when I recently ran into them, I gave them the whole spiel. I was like, yo, man, I got this movie show / podcast that I've been doing for, a couple months now. And, maybe you can give me a couple pointers on like how to make it better, what I could be doing and like help it grow and shit like that. Because this source is in the movie biz. Okay. And when I run into them, we always get into like these discussions of movies and stuff like that. And it's very, very satisfying for me to do that. Cause like, it's very rare that I can like sit down with people and we all be on the same level and passion for the movies that I'm on, you know what I mean? So anyway, they gave me a couple pointers and stuff like that, which I appreciate. But then, while we're talking about Suicide Squad and how we like the movie and how we wish like they could have did a little bit better with here and they could have moved this over there and David Ayer's just playing the game and stuff like that and how we felt bad for him, all that shit, they end up dropping this bomb on me and being like, I can't wait for that solo Joker movie to come out. That shit's gonna be amazing. So I was like, hold up for a sec. All right, solo Joker movie. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, well, here's the first question. Is Jared Leto coming back to play the Joker? And they were like, yeah. Fantastic, right? Second question I asked them is I was like, do you mind if I talk about this in the news section of my movie show / podcast? And they were like, knock yourself out. So here I am telling you that there is a solo Joker movie in the works over at WB. Jared Leto is coming back to play the role of Joker. And word has it that WB wants this movie to be dark as fuck. Like rated R dark. All right. And I am very excited to hear that because I like Jared Leto's Joker. I liked his take on that character. I like how he was more of like a fucking mob boss. And I feel like his whole appearance is pretty much like a mirror image of how gangsters are perceived in this day and age, with the fucking gaudy ass clothes and tattoos everywhere. And he got the fucking gold grill shout-is all up in their mouth and everything like that. So like, I like this whole interpretation of that character in Suicide Squad. And I was really scared that he wasn't going to come back because of all the like shit that he was talking, where he was just like so upset at the scenes they cut out of him in Suicide Squad, and how he was told that there was going to be more of him in the movie, but it ended up like with them just cutting a lot of shit from that movie. So like, I was afraid that he was going to be so pissed off from that he wouldn't come back. And maybe them giving him a solo movie is probably what made him come back, or what got him to come back if he walked away from the role of Joker. But either way, I'm glad that he's going to be coming back and reprising that role. Now, what the movie is about, I would assume it's going to be an origin story, because that's the thing that people love to do, is they love to do origin stories. But what I hope that they do is that instead of doing an origin story, I would say at the very least, just have him just do like the whole flashback thing the same way that they did with Harley Quinn and Suicide Squad. I say if you want to do like origins for that character, just relegate it to flashbacks. But if if they could just not do origin stories and just make that whole character an enigma for why he is the way he is, like, I'd be down for that too. But what I want them to do is I want them to show the death of Jason Todd, right? Because we know that Joker and Harley Quinn played a role in taking out Jason Todd. So I would love to see them tackle that in the solo Joker movie. Because then the other thing is too, like, because they explain that the reason why he wears the grill in his mouth is because his teeth are damaged because they got knocked out by Batman, and supposedly that was done after he had killed Jason Todd. So like Batman was so pissed off at him that he went and like bashed his face in, and that's why he's got all the scars and the teeth missing and all that, and he's got the grill. So if they were gonna do a solo Joker movie, I would like them to do that. And why would I like them to do that? Because chances are they're going to put my boy Jason Todd in there, and they could like have it to where Jason Todd isn't dead. He's actually alive, and he becomes the Red Hood. And then that could be the antagonist or protagonist, however the fuck you want to look at it, rogue-tagonist of Joker. You know, that could be his opposite in the movie, and they could just be those two going at it. Like Jason Todd trying to get revenge, and Joker trying to like do Joker things. So I'm down for that. And let's all just go ahead and take a moment to thank the success of Deadpool and now Logan for opening up the door to making radar superhero movies again. So good on you. All you gotta do now is just start making a movie, okay? And let's start making this movie as soon as possible, so that way nobody changes their mind, nobody drops out or anything like that and loses interest and shit. So like, let's do this like quick, fast, and in a hurry. So really looking forward to that Joker solo movie. I'm sure it's probably like 2, maybe even 3 years out, but whatever. As long as it's in the documents, as long as it's in the roster of movies that they want to make, like, we good. So really looking forward to that. That does it for the news. Let's get into the trailers. So once again, it's no man's land for trailers. You know, they just keep showing the same shit over and over again. But they did show a new one when I went to the movies, and that trailer is Geostorm. And it is exactly what you probably think it is. It is a disaster movie. And I'm excited. I like disaster movies. I think for the most part, like, it's not like they're a movie of the year or anything like that. I just find them to be highly entertaining. I think the only disaster movie I really didn't care for was Deep Impact. But like when you're talking about like the Day After Tomorrow, and what was the other one? The Core was actually pretty decent as well. Like, when you're talking about that kind of stuff, what was the other one? 2012. I love those movies. They're just some of the most entertaining movies to like just sit down and just watch, right? And just enjoy it for what it is. You know, you got the special effects going crazy, and this is like the one time where special effects teams can just go balls to the wall and destroy all types of cities. Even though I do miss the days of when like the studios would, or the effects team would build maquettes of the cities that they wanted to destroy. So they just be like, yep, this is a complete rebuilding of a miniature LA fucking skyline. You know, I built downtown LA with these popsicle sticks. And yeah, so we're going to dump this water on it to recreate this tsunami for the movies. And needless to say, this is all going to have to be done in one take. So let's hope we get it right. Like, I miss those days. Like, I understand why they like refuse to do that, because that is a lot of time. And like I said, they, you know, usually have to do that shit in one take. But regardless, I still miss it. But anyway, with the disaster movies that they're doing nowadays, like the computers just have free reign to just go balls to the wall and do all kinds of shit. Having planes drop from the sky, all kinds of tornadoes and tsunamis just washing all over beaches and shit like that. Like, I'm looking forward to it. Another reason why I like disaster movies is because it is the moment where whoever's watching the movie can finally see how I see humanity. Okay, which is that everybody's just fucking dumb. You know, from the panicked civilians on street level all the way up to the dumbass scientists who make fucking climate control satellites that cause superstorms that we gotta fucking deal with on planet Earth. Like, it's crazy. So, yeah. So I'm looking forward to Geostorm. It comes out October 20th. I don't know what the movies are looking like as far as releases go around that time, but if there is nothing else to watch in theaters, you can bet your ass that I'm gonna sit my ass down and watch Geostorm. And even if there is shit to watch in theaters, I will find time to go and watch Geostorm, hopefully in theaters. But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if I end up just having to wait till that comes out on video or something. But I will do my best to go see it. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, the spoiler-free movie review. Wonder Woman. The time has come to review Wonder Woman. But before we do that, let me first explain my knowledge of the character Wonder Woman before I went to go, or before I sat down to watch the movie. Very limited, you see. I usually just refer to her as DC's Thor, because that's pretty much how I look at her, with a smidge of Captain America, but mainly just DC's Thor. But my knowledge of Wonder Woman is I knew their name was Diana Prince. I knew she was an Amazon from the island of Themyscira, which I used to pronounce Themyscira because for whatever reason I just could not pronounce that name. I know about the Lasso of Truth. I know about the Invisible Jet. And I knew that she was a member of the Justice League of America. She was one of the main roster of people in there. So, like, that was my whole knowledge of Wonder Woman before watching the movie. I will not say how accurate I was with that knowledge because I don't want to like ruin any surprises for anyone just in case you haven't seen the movie yet. So, but I will say, after watching the movie, after the credits rolled, my immediate reaction to it was, that was a good movie. But, and this is a big ass but, that movie suffers from what all DC Cinematic Universe movies suffer from, or have been suffering from, since Man of Steel. And that is the Nolan Syndrome. What is the Nolan Syndrome, you may ask? Let me explain it to you. So Christopher Nolan made a trilogy of Batman movies. It is called the Dark Knight trilogy. There's Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. So Christopher Nolan's whole thing with his Batman movies, with the first two, was that it was to be grounded like in realism. He like hit this balance, this really nice balance between being realistic, you know, practical, and comic book. But the scale would usually weigh more into the practicality of everything. All right. And it wasn't until the third movie that scale just like hit hard on the comic book level, where the movie just went full comic book, you know. So it started out where, with the first two movies, you know, it started out where it was like, there is no Lazarus pit that grants eternal life. You know, there is nobody getting dumped into a vat of ace chemicals and getting their skin bleached. Like, he kept all that shit out. And he pretty much made the movies to the point where if a billionaire were to sit down and watch Batman Begins and Dark Knight, they could just be like, you know what? I have enough money to be Batman. I'm going to be Batman. Like, that was the first two Batman movies that Nolan did. The third movie is where we go into the territory of people miraculously recovering from their spine being broken and protruding out of their skin, to where they heal in a matter of months and then cover this great distance to go and thwart evil without having any resources whatsoever. You know, they go and do shit like that. And they even have a fucking doomsday clock at the end of the movie. So like just full comic book, right? And ever since then, when they decided to like reboot DC movies, like after the fucking, well, Superman Returns was before the Dark Knight trilogy, right? I can't remember. But anyway, as soon as they started the whole Man of Steel, and then from there decided to build the DC cinematic universe off of that, it's like they've been suffering from the Nolan syndrome, because Man of Steel is pretty much hitting the same notes, or it was hitting the same notes as Nolan's Batman movies, which makes sense because Nolan ended up being an executive producer on Man of Steel, and I think he even wrote the story for Man of Steel. So it's only natural that you see like some snippets of Dark Knight seep into Man of Steel. But the problem with all those movies is that they try and do this whole like balance between being realistic and comic booky, setting up their worlds and shit, but then like by the end of the movie they just go like full blown comic book, and it turns into an episode of Dragon Ball Z with motherfuckers flying around everywhere and smacking in buildings and shit like that. It's crazy. And Wonder Woman is no different. Like I said, Wonder Woman's good, but it's no different. It falls like to that same problem that the other DC movies have had. So anyway, so like I was saying, Wonder Woman does a good job like setting up the world, fleshing out the characters, all that, like good. Just for the most part, good. Another problem that the movie has is that they tell you more than they show you. So like, even though the movie starts off on Themyscira and they're explaining like the Amazons and where they come from and what their duty is and shit like that, like they explain all that shit, but they show you a little bit of that world to kind of like immerse you into it and sell you on it and build it up and everything, but they don't fully show you that world and what you're getting involved in, so that by the time the third act comes in the movie, it's a little more jarring because they failed to like fully show you what the hell you were getting into with this movie. And it's really weird to say that, because one of the best parts about Wonder Woman is that the character Wonder Woman doesn't overcompensate, for herself. Okay. Which I will go ahead and give like mad props to the director, Patty Jenkins, for doing that, because going into this movie, one of my biggest fears is that it was going to end up being like Iron Fist, where you have a person who has like extraordinary abilities, but they would spend the majority of the time telling people how fucking dope they were. Like, hey, I'm Wonder Woman. Hey, I'm Wonder Woman. That means I don't lose. Hey, I'm Wonder Woman. I'm the best fighter ever. Like, I was afraid that shit was going to happen, but it didn't. They ended up doing the opposite, and it was pretty much like everyone just kind of like looking at her and being like, oh, you're a beautiful woman. You don't need to be putting yourself in danger. And she kind of just like gives you this look like, you fucking asshole. And then she goes and does her shit. Okay. And then everybody witnesses it. And then there's like, yeah, we misjudged her. She's a fucking badass. So everybody rally behind her and let's go do this shit. Right. So I thought that was fantastic the way that they did that. Sticking with the topic of Wonder Woman and all that, I am sold on her as a character now. I've said it numerous times. I'm a Marvel guy. I'm not really that into DC, but after watching this movie and getting more insight into her character, a lot more than I used to, like, I'm kind of in there. And I say kind of because, I only got a couple of comics and they're like in the beginning of the comics. So it's like a lot of stuff is still building it up. But so far, I'm liking what I'm seeing. She's pretty much Thor. So I was right about saying that she is DC's version of Thor, except instead of Norse mythology, she's like in Greek mythology, which I have an interest in. So like, that was one of the things that like got me into it, but it was also just like her character and how they built her up in the movie. So I'm just like, I kind of want to read some more about her in comics. And that is a very high compliment, because that has not happened to me since the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So, I feel like that's a very high compliment to say that, after watching this movie, I'm kind of like into reading Wonder Woman comics now. If she plays her cards right, if all goes well, she'll be added to the roster of DC comics that I read. It is a very small roster. I think it's like currently I read Red Hood, Suicide Squad, and Supergirl. So if all goes well, Wonder Woman could be added to that list. Unfortunately, though, I am sold on the character of Wonder Woman. I am still not sold on the actor that plays Wonder Woman. I'm sorry to say it, but I am still not sold on Gal Gadot. Don't get me wrong, dude. She's a beautiful woman. She's fantastic. She's got the face. I'm sold on the face. I'm sold on her performance. The fucking action scenes, the fight choreography and all that, fantastic. We already got to see a snippet of her in action in Batman v Superman when she was fighting Doomsday. But in this movie, she's like fighting multiple people, and I think it comes across very well. Like, she's fucking brutal. All right, all that shit I'm sold on. The combat poses she was doing, like there's one that actually shown in the previews where she's like fucking super kneeing some dude out of a window. Like that pose that she hits in midair, fantastic. I love it. Like I said, Gal Gadot, beautiful woman, love her face. But like from the neck down, I'm not feeling it, dude. She looks like a toothpick, all right? And maybe it's just because I'm so used to seeing Wonder Woman like not all fucking yoked out and bulky and shit, but it's like she has a little definition to her when I see her like in comics and on t-shirts and posters and shit like that. She has a little bit of definition to her. And that's all I want with Gal Gadot. I don't want her to get yoked out. I don't want her to fucking be all like cock diesel and shit like that. I just want her to get a little bit more definition in her body, okay? Someone get this woman a couple of sandwiches, put her in the gym and let her get a little bit more cut. That's all I'm asking for, all right? But other than that, dude, like I just, it's not like she's unwatchable or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It's the same thing that I'm going through with Captain America. It's like, I think Chris Evans is a phenomenal actor. He's a good looking man. I just wish they could have got somebody else to play Captain America. That's it. At least with Wonder Woman, like, granted, I would like to have seen someone like Gina Carano play that role. But if you're going to keep Gal Gadot, like, go ahead and keep her. I'm just saying, give her a couple sandwiches. Get her a little shredded, like not super shredded, but just a little bit of definition, and we're good. So at least she's got that going for her over the whole Marvel property thing. So, there's that. Sticking with like the characters, like obviously the movie's called Wonder Woman. You're gonna focus on Wonder Woman and shit like that. BT Dub, by the way, side note, I am completely sold on that tune now, the Wonder Woman tune. For the longest, I hated it in BVS. I could not stand that music. And then when they played it during the first Wonder Woman trailer, I couldn't stand it then either. But like after watching the movie, it's grown on me. A lot of things are getting sold on me from the Wonder Woman movie, so I appreciate that. Anyway, going back to the characters. So like the supporting cast and side characters and shit like that, I mean, they're not terrible, but they don't exactly stick out, with the exception of the Amazons on Themyscira, whose names that I cannot pronounce, and what's her face? Chris Pine's secretary, whose name I can't remember. With the exception of those, everyone else just kind of like, I mean, they kind of get their time to shine. They get a little bit of character development to kind of like get you like more into them and like feeling them, like having a connection with them as a character. But it really didn't work for me. They were just kind of like there. Going back to Marvel's Captain America, like there's a crew that Wonder Woman rolls around with the same way Steve did with the Howling Commandos. And remember how you can't really like recall them having like any real notable scenes, at least I couldn't. It's the same way I feel about Wonder Woman's posse that she was rolling around with. Of course, Chris Pine, I mean, like, you see him, he's Chris Pine. He's a good looking guy as well, but like, doesn't really do anything to stand out that much. Like, I don't know. It's just, they kind of dropped the ball a little bit with their supporting characters. Maybe a little bit too much emphasis was put on the character of Wonder Woman. We kind of should have spread the love just a little bit, but you know, it's all right. It's, like I said, not unwatchable on their part either. Who does suck, who I thought like they really dropped the ball with, were the villains in the movie. I hear so much shit about how Marvel just has like shitty villains. Stop it. I hear so much shit about how Marvel just has shitty villains, and I'm telling you right now, the villains in this movie were not that great. And they definitely had opportunities to do some shit, like some very interesting shit with the villains. I'm sorry about this, really. They had some opportunities to do some interesting shit with the villains, but they just didn't. They dropped the ball, really. And I don't want to give anything away, but I will just say that they dropped the ball with the villains in this movie. So, yeah. But anyway, when it's all said and done, like I said at the beginning, it was a good movie. It's not the best DC movie. I wouldn't go that far, but still good. If I had to rank the DC movies, I would say it goes Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, and then Batman v Superman. But I would definitely recommend going to watch it in theaters. It's not like super dark. It's actually a pretty like uplifting movie compared to what they've done like with their previous movies. It's probably the most uplifting movie that they've done so far. The tone kind of stays. I mean, it goes. Does it get dark? It gets a little dark, but not like too dark. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, you kind of look at it, there's a real Marvel vibe going on. I'm real sorry for the Marvel comparisons, but you know, I gotta call a spade, okay? But there's a real Marvel vibe going on with the tones that they play around with in this movie. What was the other thing I wanted to say? The other thing is too, the other reason why you need to go see it in theaters is because, let's be honest here, people, it is very slim pickings for a female lead in a superhero movie to like get any shine around here. In fact, I can't even recall the last female-led superhero movie. So like, yeah, I would say go check this out. It's your standard origin story movie. Like I said, they tell you more than they should show you, but it's not unwatchable. It's good. Now, my dogs are probably killing each other right now, so I am going to call it right there. Go see Wonder Woman. It was good. Videos are getting posted. I plan on having them posted before I get to episode 30 because I'm taking some advice from my anonymous source, and I'm going to try and help the show grow. Jesus Christ. I'm going to help the show grow. And one of the things that they were saying to help it grow is just to give people free shit because people like free shit. So, like, I won't say, like, what you need to do to get the free shit, but I will say that there's going to be some free shit that I will give, hopefully, by the time episode 30 comes. That was Movie Chewsday. Now it's just another day, and I'm out.
And it was just another day, yeah.
Just another day.
Until it went to the movies, now it's a movie Tuesday.
Just another day.
A movie Tuesday. Until a movie Tuesday.